what we're here to talk about tonight is visualization. So you guys have probably used, I'm pretty confident you guys have used visualization before in your lives. You might not have done it in the kind of formalized setting that we're going to be talking about tonight. But visualization really is just recreating an experience in your mind. And it's got a lot of different benefits that can be used in a lot of different ways. And I want to see, do you currently use visualization and do you use it in kind of a systematic way, and have you been taught it? It's kind of what that question is gearing towards. So do you use visualization? Yep, negative kind of. Cool. For any of those people that said yup, do I have any brave souls that want to hop on to the camera and share how they use it? All right, Ray Wells, I can. Okay, let me go ahead and pop on, Ray.
Am I here? Can anyone see me, hear me, all that good stuff?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Nice work. Way to pop on. Good job.
Thank you for that. Thank you. My name is Ray. I'm from Houston. And just to answer your question, times that I practice visualization now, as a sports performance coach within my job, I lead training athletically for adults and kids. So sometimes before I have to go off and start off training for the day, because my classes go back to back for like 4 hours. I kind of go through the script, right, of what I'll be doing, how I will say what I need to say, and what that looks like. So I'm actually like on the turf, getting my hands involved, smiling, everything like that, as if I have a group of adults or kids right in front of me. So that's how I get myself going and ready for the day.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate you you popping on.
No problem.
Nat, you wanna pop on and share?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. I'm Nat. I'm a sports psychologist from the UK. I normally use visualization for myself in terms of doing presentations or webinars like Drew's doing right now. But I also use it for motivation for my goals. So I'm currently, I want to lose weight. I want to lose about 10 kilograms. And I'm using, my ideal body type. I visualize that, what I want. And then every time I wake up in the morning, or I feel like I want a snack, like a biscuit or something, I'll be like, okay, what do I want? And I'll visualize that picture of what I want to look like. And it'll hopefully motivate me not to eat that biscuit or go for a run or whatever it might be.
Cool. Thanks, Nat. We're gonna talk about the second of the two visualization techniques that I'm going to be talking about tonight. Are going to kind of deal a little bit more with motivation, and actually has the latest research article was about snacking with this visualization technique. So that's interesting you bring that up. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Moving right along. Now I want to, I want you guys to experience a little bit of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about visualization. So like everybody, go back to muting yourself if you're not already. Actually, I think I can do that, so I'll make sure everyone's muted. And what I first want us to do is kind of get set up. We're going to do a little visualization here, and I'd like everyone to just get set up, get seated in a comfortable position, kind of sitting upright if you can. And I want you to just take a couple deep breaths and just kind of calm yourself down, bring everything down a little bit. All right, so take a few deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. If you want, you can kind of gently close your eyes, or you can stare off into one point. And I'm just going to walk you through a little visualization here. And I just ask, try to be as focused as you can on it, and just try to make it as vivid as possible. Take a few more deep breaths. Okay. So I'd like you to imagine that you are standing in your kitchen. Choose a kitchen that you are very familiar with. It's associated with pleasurable memories. So as different kitchens kind of flash through your eyes, hone in on one and solidify on that one kitchen and put that into your mind's eye. So imagine you are standing at the doorway to this kitchen. And glance around it, noting the walls, cabinets, countertops, the floor. See the appliances that are in the kitchen. The refrigerator is over there, the stove's over there, oven, dishwasher. Notice the different things that are placed upon the countertops, maybe a cutting board. Also, imagine a nice smell coming through, like someone just cooked cookies. You feel warm, you feel comfortable. Now bring your gaze to the counter and notice that there's a nice wooden cutting board sitting there. On top of that cutting board sits a bright yellow lemon. You see and notice its color, a really vibrant yellow. See its size and shape. You reach out and pick up this lemon and notice how it feels in your hands. The skin of it is both smooth and slightly bumpy. You may see where the end of it where it was attached to the tree. Next to the cutting board, you see a sharp knife. So put the lemon back onto the cutting board and carefully pick up the knife in your dominant hand. Holding the lemon steady with your other hand, cut the lemon in half. As you do this, feel the knife slicing through the fruit, revealing inside the jewel pulp in neat rows. Instantly, a strong aroma of that citrus comes into your attention. You see the fresh white pulp and perhaps some seeds inside. Your juice starts dripping onto the cutting board. Your hands are starting to, as you pick one side up, your hands start to get sticky. Now take 1/2 of that lemon and cut it again, making a quarter-sized slice. Then put the knife down, bring the lemon up to your nose, and really smell that fresh citrus scent stinging your nostrils. Then touch the lemon to your lips and take a big bite. Okay, you can come back into reality now. So the idea behind that was just to see how vividly we could reproduce that image in our mind. And I'm interested to see how well people did. So I want you to text me or text in that group. Let me know, was it really, really vivid for you? Like at the end, could you taste that lemon? Was it like sour in your mouth? Like, ugh. Or was it, you know, you had it, it was kind of foggy, didn't have a great picture of it. Or maybe you had a picture of it, but it struggled with some of the other senses. So like maybe you struggled with the smell or the taste. Or maybe you had the image in your mind, but then it like would change on you. You couldn't really control the image very well. or lastly, maybe it's just like you really struggle with it altogether. So let me know. So a lot of it looks like a lot of responses. That was vivid. That's awesome. I did this one time, and we talk about with visualization, it's really important to be able to control the image, and it looks like not too many people struggle with that. I had one guy, I was doing this with him, and he was like, he said that he cut his finger off when he was cutting the lemon. I was like, that's not good. We gotta work on that. Cool. So that gives you a little taste of like when I talk about visualization or imagery, that's kind of what I mean. Is like immersing yourself into a scenario and doing it with intent. So what does visualization help with? A lot of different things. So learning a new skill. So visualizing how we are trying to execute that skill. So if we're in golf and we're trying to focus on a new mechanic, or we're trying to learn how to hit a draw or a cut, visualizing yourself doing that can be a good way of using it. Then kind of a similar way, just reinforcing mechanics or the habits, the good habits that you have in your mind. Really just getting the reps, getting mental reps of whatever it is you're doing. Visualization can be great for practicing other mental skills. So visualizing yourself going into a really pressure-filled situation and watching yourself calm yourself down, using your breathing, and regulating your emotions in that way. So it can be great for that as well. It can be huge for increasing confidence. One of the things that we know about confidence is one of the main sources of confidence that we derive from are our past experiences. Well, if we can relive experiences or in our mind, we can increase confidence that way. And then finally, kind of a given is preparation. A lot of this really is all preparation. So it also in that way will help with your confidence by knowing that you're prepared going into whatever situation you're walking into. So what does the research say about visualization? There's some really fascinating research on visualization. And basically one of the main takeaways from a lot of this research shows that the brain has a hard time differentiating between a experience that you actually do, something that you actually do versus imagining that same thing. And not only the brain, actually, the muscles as well. So there was a study with some downhill skiers, and they were looking at, they had basically a group of skiers go and go down a slope, and they hooked them up to all these different electrodes and things, reading their muscle output. And then they got all the recordings and readings of their muscles and also the brain readings. And then they had them just go into a quiet room, and they said, all right, just visualize yourself doing that exact same route. And interestingly enough, the same muscles were activated in the same sequencing, and the same areas of the brain were activated. There was a difference, obviously, in the amount of activation. Like, obviously, when they were skiing down the slopes, their muscles were activated more. But the point is that the same muscles were activated, the same areas of the brain. So this is really important because we can use this now to our advantage. We know now that the brain can't distinguish between vividly imagining something and actually doing it. So we can use that to our advantage, again, for skill development, to prepare the body. We can kind of prime our body before we go out and do something. Or again, reinforce habits by really just activating those same pathways in the brain as you would if you were actually doing it. I think I got some chats. Oh, just sports psych nerds. Nerding out on research, okay. All right, so 2 techniques we're gonna talk about tonight. Visualization script is one of them, and Whoop is the other. So this is where you can start. If you have your handout next to you, you can pull that up. Oops, I did something I should not have done. So the first one is the visualization script. And the first step in all of this is to identify the intent. What do you want to accomplish with your visualization? So if it is, we kind of went over a number of them, but maybe you want to build confidence. Maybe you want to reinforce or practice something that you were working on before all of this happened, all this occurred. Maybe you want to see yourself handling pressure or nervousness in a better way. Again, maybe you want to reinforce some of these mechanics that you were working on, or work on a specific movement, or prepare for. Maybe you have something big coming up that you want to prepare for. So take a second, think about what it is specifically you want to work on and the intent behind that. And then I'll ask for another brave volunteer to see if anybody wants to share what they might want to work on, what their intent might be behind visualization. Recovering from injury, that's a great one. It's also not something I mentioned, but visualization is often used in the recovery process. That's great. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you got injured. I too am recovering from ACL surgery, so I've utilized it a few times for that. Anybody else? Anybody else feeling brave or vulnerable tonight? Teaching performance enhancement skills to Army soldiers. Okay, good. Thanks, Brian. Give me one more. Let me get one more. Either pop it into the chat box or if you're brave, pop it in the, say it out loud. Shutting down 1v1s on a goalkeeper. Ah, gotcha. That's a great one. That's a great use for visualization. All right, so good. Prep for a race. Good. So now that we have our intent, now that we know what we really want to be working on. How do you want to feel when you're in that moment, when you're in that performance? What kind of feelings do you want to have? How do you want to feel physically? How do you want to feel mentally or emotionally? Learning a new trick in snowboarding, cool. What do you identify some on your handout there, some adjectives of how you want to feel physically. What do you want your body to feel like? Maybe it wants to feel loose or ready or excited. Mentally, maybe, what kind of thoughts do you want to be having? And then emotionally, do you want to feel confident? Do you want to feel aggressive? Do you want to feel, light and relaxed? Joey, that's good. So try to identify, if you can come up with one adjective per or maybe a couple per, that's great. All right, so the next step, I want you to, when you're in this performance, right? So you're identifying this, this performance that you are working on, the intent behind it. Some of the ways that you want your body to feel like. So now I want you to kind of set the scene. When you're in that moment, what are things that you see? What are things that you feel? What are things that you, this one might not be too applicable, but, what do you taste? I don't think there are any swimmers, but that can apply to swimmers. What do you smell? If you're a soccer player, maybe you smell the fresh cut grass or You smell your sweaty goalie gloves. And then what do you hear? Maybe you hear birds chirping if you're outside. Maybe you hear your coach in the background, or whatever the case may be. So try to identify and write down some things that you see, some things that you feel, that would be with your body. So if how are you feeling with your body? Things that maybe you taste, smell, or you hear. So some of these will be more prevalent for you than others. But again, just kind of list out some things. All right, so now you kind of have your intent, right? You know what you're doing. You know how you want your body to feel, and you know how you want your mind to feel, and how you emotionally want to feel. And then you've identified some things that you want to, that you see, or you hear, or taste, or smell. So now I want you to you write a movie script. It's like writing a movie script. So just like I walked you through that script about the lemon, I kind of set the scene. I was like, all right, you're in your kitchen, you see the refrigerator, you see this. Start out by setting the scene. So where are you? What are you, outside? Are you inside? Who's around? Adding in those specific elements of what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell. So set the scene that way. Be really descriptive in this as well. Use those descriptive words that can really evoke vivid images. Use, again, all the senses that we kind of talked about, and really emphasize what you're feeling. So if you are using this to learn a new skill, or to reinforce mechanics in a golf swing, or in your approach in soccer, or something like that, really emphasize how you want to feel and how you want your body to feel in space. Like, what does it feel like to hit a cut, or what does it feel like when you're attacking the one-on-one situation? So take a second and just, like, you don't have to write the whole thing out, but just kind of start writing your own visualization script for whatever it is that you want to be working on. I want to pause here also and get some questions. Feel free to pop them into the chat box, or if you want to pop on the mic.
When you do this, you're supposed to do like.
Again, what we're emphasizing here is details, and we're emphasizing all the senses that we can use,
How you feel.
and really how we feel, how we want to feel. How do you want to show up? What is that emotional component? Just give you another little moment here to kind of finish up. All right, we're gonna move on. If you didn't finish, you finish later tonight or whatever. So now that you have this visualization script, it's about getting the reps. Just like a physical skill, you have this. You can either commit it to memory. You can read it. I've had some people read it out loud and record it on their phone, and then they can pop it into their, listen to it, that recording of them going through this visualization on their phone. Or you can just kind of read it to yourself and just kind of put yourself in that situation. But it's all about getting the reps. So try to do it maybe 3 to 4 days a week, 5 to 20 minutes. You can also, now that you have this kind of template, you can create variations off of it. So if you were specifically working on, the one-on-one situation as a goalie, maybe then you want to visualize, how are you going to be during corner kicks, or how do you want to show up at the start of the game? I think that's one that I love working with, and I really emphasize is like when you're walking out onto the pitch for at the start of the game, or if you're walking onto the first tee, or at the start of the basketball game at tip-off, like what do you want to feel and how do you want to feel that? I think that's a really powerful way of using visualization. So in that, use this as a template, create variations, use it, see yourself also overcoming challenges. I think this is important. Like in our visualizations, we can tend to go too far on the, like, I'm amazing and then I'm just crushing it. But we kind of want to make it realistic, right? So it can be good if you see yourself overcoming some challenges that maybe are common to you and your performance. So seeing yourself overcoming those, it can be a powerful way. And again, I've kind of mentioned this before, but also putting yourself into that visualization script and putting it into a pressure situation. So there's a big crowd, the state finals, whatever. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next visualization technique. I love this one. Shout out to my old professor and mentor, Fernando Lopez. Professor Lopez is on this call who taught me about this. So the technique is called WHOOP, and it was really started by two researchers, Gabriel Oettingen and Peter Gollwitzer, and it stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. And I see this kind of more as a, I don't know if research would agree, but, I see this more as kind of like a short-term, you can do this really every day and change it up, depending on what you're looking for. So we're going to just dive right into it. So the first step in this process is identify a wish. What is something you want to accomplish? What is something that you want to accomplish in 1 to 4 weeks? So again, on the more recent side, like what is something upcoming that you want to do? So Nat, thank you for providing us that example of like you're trying to lose some weight. I have no idea what 10 kilograms is. I'm going to say it's 12 pounds. I don't know. But identify something like that. Something you want to accomplish in the next 1 to 4 weeks. What's a wish that you have? And please share on the chat box if you would, or if anybody wants to pop on the mic. Entering a building during, okay, Brian's got one. So mine is going to be, I've been working on a kind of mental training handout or workbook, and I want to finish that in the next couple weeks. Anybody else want to pop their wish into the chat box?
Hey, Drew.
Play basketball.
It's Fernando.
Hey, Fernando.
Hey, I want to finish my first episode of this podcast I recorded. So if I want to finish editing
so
it.
You recorded a podcast?
Yeah, I'm trying to start one. And I have one episode, but it's been in the queue for a long time.
Yeah, that's great. People are going to want to hear what you have to say.
Well, not me, someone else.
Oh.
the person I'm interviewing, yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. That's a good one. Anna said practice mindfulness 2 to 3 times a week. Finish mental skills training program. Read a book, Tyler. You got to learn how to read first, buddy. All right. So you've identified your wish. The next step is visualize. I want you to then visualize what would it be like to accomplish that wish? What would it be like to have that best outcome of yours? Like, so write that down, and then also take a second to actually visualize, like, what would it feel like to really accomplish that, and see yourself accomplishing that, whatever that may be. So get out of Corona lockdown and get back on the field. That's a good one. I mean, I hear you. Now I think it's tough because so much of that is out of our control, right? And so when we're doing this, you know, ideally we try to find some things that we have a large amount of control over, because ultimately, like, we could set some goals or we could do some things, and you know, we could be on lockdown for a while. So I hear you on that. I really do. But you know, try to find one that maybe you have a little bit more control over. So again, visualize how that would feel. And this is an important step, because so you've kind of identified, right, a goal. The first step was like identifying a goal, basically. And then you visualize how it would feel to accomplish that goal. And that gives you some good positive feeling, maybe a little bit of, you know, satisfaction. You're like, yeah, that would be amazing. And oftentimes we stop kind of there. In the goal setting process, we often stop at, you know, we set the goal and then it's like, oh man, it'd be so great if I lost 15 pounds. I would look so good. It would be amazing. But we typically kind of stop there. And so this next step is maybe the most important, and that is visualizing the obstacle. Identify what is the biggest internal obstacle preventing you from achieving this. You know, so for me, like, I wanted to finish up this mental training workbook. My biggest internal obstacle is, you know, I don't have I guess I'm scared because I don't have a clear enough vision for it. So it just feels a little bit too daunting right now. And so this also might take a little bit of digging. Like, what is it really? Like, ask yourself that a few times. You know, ask yourself, what is preventing me? Okay, well, why is that preventing me? And go down a couple of layers and try to get into, is it an emotion that you have around it? Is it some sort of irrational belief that you have? Maybe you develop some bad habits. So once you really kind of have a good understanding of what that obstacle is, then visualize that obstacle. Really see that obstacle, and see yourself overcoming it. So this is where we get that motivation piece, because some of this research has suggested that in doing this, visualizing the obstacle, we actually motivate ourselves. We're like, oh, okay, well, that's not too bad. I can do that. I can overcome this. So a really critical step here is visualizing the obstacle. So, you know, you had your goal or your wish, you visualize how it would feel to get your outcome, then you visualize the obstacle, and then finally you create a plan. So the plan is going to be in the form of an if-then statement. So once you've identified the obstacle, identify, okay, what will I do? What action will I take? And that's important, an action. What action will I take to overcome this obstacle? And then write down an if-then statement. If I confront this obstacle, then I will do the action. Now, you know, I keep coming back to your example about snacking, because actually when I learned this first, I was in grad school, and you know, we had classes pretty late, and I would get home probably around 11 o'clock, and Alexi, my wonderful wife, who's on here right now, she would always like cook a meal, and it would be in the fridge, and, you know, kind of, but I had already eaten dinner, but I would like instantly, it was just a habit that I would just go in and just start like peer into the fridge and just start eating. And I ended up gaining some weight, and it was, you know, it was this bad habit that I created. And so when I learned about this, I said, all right, if I go home and open the fridge, then I will pour myself a glass of water. You know, so I'm switching it up. I'm replacing kind of that bad habit or something that I was trying to do with something a little bit more productive. And that if-then statement, then you've already done like the hard work. Like, you've already set the plan in motion. It's like the difference between if you ever go to the gym and you don't really have a plan, or you just kind of like kind of show up and you're like, oh, I'll figure it out. And maybe you do like 10 minutes on the bike and you're like, all right, feel pretty good. I'm gonna get out of here now. Versus like sitting down beforehand, you're like, all right, I'm gonna do 20 minutes cardio, I'm gonna do some weights. So having that plan in place ahead of time, you eliminated the cognitive load. Like you've eliminated the difficult mental piece about it. Now you just do it. All right, any questions about any of that? Cool. So some keys to remember when you're visualizing, whether it's using this Whoop. Oh, Ray, yeah, what you got?
Let me come back. Okay. So I was kind of viewing your I'm taking everything in, not from the eyes of a athlete, but more from the eyes of a like performance coach, mental conditioning coach. And then within the getting the reps, you mentioned something about 3 to 4 days a week for 5 to 20 minutes. Was that driven by like research? Like why 3 to 4 days, 5 to 20? Does something to like, is it kind of tapping into like neuroplasticity in the brain? Why that time frame? Why not more? Why not less?
That is not based on any research per se. Okay. That is just kind of my recommendation from other recommendations that I've seen, because it can be visualization can be really difficult for some people, and it can be really taxing. So just doing it 5 minutes might seem like a long time, whereas other people it comes really easily. So I think it's about finding a way to make it systematic. I think that's the most important part, is finding a way to not do it haphazardly, but make it into a routine. That's the most important part. So if it's every day, that's awesome. If it's every other day, if it's a couple days a week, but I think the consistency and having a systematic approach to it is the important part.
Awesome. All right, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. The Neil family has a question. I have trouble focusing on tasks. How can I calm my brain down? So there's a number of different ways I would encourage definitely breathing. I think that is one great way to do it. And at the end, I'm going to recommend some apps, like phone apps that you could do. One thing about breathing that we know in deliberate diaphragmatic breathing is that it can help circulate blood flow to other parts of our brain that can kind of slow things down and allow us to use parts of our brain that when we're stressed or when we're anxious or tired might otherwise be shut down. But remind me at the end, but I will kind of recommend some apps that maybe could be helpful at the end. I guess, oops, I didn't mean to do that. So just some keys to remember. Make it as detailed as possible. Use as many senses as you can. Back to that systematic piece I was talking about. Try to create a plan. Try to make it routine, especially now you don't maybe have as much physical training that you're doing. Implement some of this and see how it works out for you. And then one thing we didn't really talk about was the idea of perspective, which you can either be visualizing through your own eyes, or you can see yourself in third person, so seeing yourself do it. So it's kind of the difference between first person or third person, your own eyes, or seeing yourself kind of up above. There's some research that suggests that there's differences. Some research says that if you are trying to hone in a new skill, if you're trying to practice a new skill, you're trying to like work on mechanics, it can be good to do third person. Whereas if you are trying to evoke certain emotions like confidence, you're trying to practice being aggressive or strong or things like that, it could be better to do it first person. I would just say, I don't know that it makes that big of a difference. I think do what feels right to you and what feels comfortable. And then the last couple things, ensure that you can control the image. So if the image starts to go wonky on you, reel it back in, redo it so that you're seeing it as you want to see it. And then finally, timing. So ultimately, you want to be doing it if it's a in the game practice skill that you're working on. You want the timing of it to be as close to the actual tempo that you would be doing it. So if you're working on, attacking on one-on-ones as a goalkeeper, try to make that visualization the same amount of time as it actually would take for you to do it in real life. Now, again, if you're practicing a skill, if you're learning a new skill, it can be helpful to actually slow it down and almost do it in slow-mo. So some caveats, but to that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, visualization, it can be difficult. It requires, some deep focus, which is also an added benefit because it can help with attention and focus. And it can be difficult. Like I really struggle with it personally. And, I lose the image and it's hard for me to see at times. So stick with it. It is something that you can get better at. And, I will put my information on here at the end. But please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have questions about it. You want to help dig into your visualization script a little bit more, whatever it is. I'm here to help. So thank you guys. Thank you very much. I'm going to see if Jack wants to pop on here and then maybe talk about his programming or anything like that.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. That was fantastic. So I actually got a lot out of it. So I started Football Genius with the thing in mind. We have people that have dreams, they have a passion and a desire, and then from a soccer standpoint, whether it's a field player or goalkeeper, we want to fulfill those dreams and passion, but then we got to look at the environment and the structure. If they're doing the things on a daily basis in training to help them get there. So what we've done, we've created a holistic structure. So one of it is obviously the mental training with Drew. We spend a lot of time right now with game video analysis. Okay, so it ties into visualization and understanding the game. In addition to that, we've done instructional training prior to the current issue. But we push, some type of training, right now, obviously, biggest thing will be technical repetition and all the little things that you can do on a daily basis. So just to Drew Morgan's point, we push more frequency on a daily basis as opposed to trying to rush things and getting things done in like 1 week in a rush camp. So that's what we've been pushing. Okay, so just wanted to provide that opportunity out there for any soccer players out there. And it's been great to collaborate with Drew, and it was a fantastic session. Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Jack. So yeah, that kind of concludes everything. My information's here. Check me out, mentalcoachmorgan.com. So I do one-on-one sessions with athletes and then all types. So send me an email if you're interested in that. I also have a free mental skills assessment on my website if you're interested in kind of like some of these other skills and maybe how you stack up. So yeah, reach out. Let me know how I can help. These are difficult times. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you. If anybody works in the medical field, my sister, who I think just signed off, was a nurse, and I know everyone in that community is really struggling. So we're thanking you guys and thinking of you all. So stay safe, be healthy. Let me know how I can help, and hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Great job,
I'll stay on also for any questions anybody has.